Today, we are diving headfirst into one of the wildest, most misunderstood days on the trading calendar, options expiry. It often looks like total unpredictable chaos. But what if I told you that underneath all that noise, there's a hidden structure, a secret set of rules that really governs the final frantic hours of trading? So let's peel back the curtain.
And this, right here, is the single most important idea you need to get your head around. Seriously, forget everything you think you know about normal trading days. Expiry isn't about finding the next big move up or down. It's about settling a score. It's all about resolving a massive amount of risk between two powerful opposing forces. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll map out the battlefield. Then we'll look at the key inputs everyone is watching. We'll talk about the ticking clock and its incredible power. We'll learn how to spot the day's patterns. And finally, we'll get to the final truth, the master principles for navigating this thing.
Okay, let's start with that core conflict. To really get what's going on, you have to stop thinking about charts and start thinking about strategy. The best way to frame expiry day is to see it as a battlefield, with two very clear sides locked in a fundamental fight.
On one side, you have the option writers. Their goal is super simple: pay out as little money as possible. They are playing defense, trying to keep the market calm, right, in a state of equilibrium. And on the other side, you've got the option buyers. They want to get paid, right? So their goal is to force an imbalance, to push the market into a state of discomfort for the writers. Literally, every single price move you see on expiry day is just part of this epic tug of war.
So, how do these two sides even keep score? Well, here's the interesting part. Both the writers and the buyers are staring at the exact same dashboard. There are just a handful of core inputs that act as signals, telling them who's winning that tug of war and what's probably going to happen next. And these are the big five. The spot price, that's easy. It's just the current market price, the consensus. Futures, though, that's where you see the urgency and aggression. Then there's max pain. This is a cool one. It's the price where the most options expire worthless. It's the writer's ideal equilibrium point. Time to expiry is the ultimate referee in this game. And finally, percentage change just tells us how stressed out the whole market is.
Now, buried in those inputs is something called the futures premium. And let me tell you, this single number is one of the most powerful tells on expiry day. It's just the gap between the futures price and the spot price, but what it's really measuring is the aggression of the buyers versus the defense of the writers.
And here's how to read it. It's like a live gauge. If you see that premium getting wider, it means the buyers are in control and they're pushing hard. If it's flat, well, we're in a stalemate, a classic tug of war. But if that premium is shrinking, that tells you the writer's defense is holding strong. And a discount, where futures are actually below spot, signals some really intense bearish pressure. It's a real-time scorecard of the battle.
All right, let's move on, because all of this battling, it's all happening under the shadow of one force that overrides everything else, the ticking clock. See, time isn't a constant on expiry day. Its influence actually grows, becoming this almost gravitational force as we get closer and closer to that final bell.
Just look at how this plays out. With more than a day to go, normal market logic can still apply. But as we get into those final 6 hours, things start to change. A balance forms, and then writer control starts to get stronger. But the real magic, the weird part, happens in the last 2 hours. This is when a strange force called price gravity takes hold, and the game becomes all about pinning the price to very specific levels. So here's the crucial takeaway. In that final stretch, your favorite charts, your go-to indicators, they all start to mean a lot less. Time itself becomes the #1 driver, relentlessly pulling the price toward the levels that will resolve the most risk for the big players, often catching aggressive traders in painful traps. Okay, so we've got the players, we have the key signals they're watching, and we understand the ticking clock that changes all the rules. Now we can put all those pieces together to actually read the state of play. Because the chaos, it isn't random. It actually falls into distinct, recognizable patterns. And the system for classifying the day is, you might be surprised, incredibly simple. It all comes down to the relationship between the current spot price and that key max pain level. If the spot price is hanging out right near max pain, it's a neutral day. If it's way above it, it's very bullish. This gives you a simple, rule-based way to understand the market's structural bias for the day. So given all the possibilities, wild trending days, huge reversals, what do you think is the single most common statistical outcome for an expiry day? The answer might surprise you. It turns out that around 55 to 60% of the time, we see this, a neutral range-bound pinning day, a day where the writers win and the price ends up right near that equilibrium max pain level.
And what about those big, exciting trend days that everybody's hoping for? Well, they only happen about 15% of the time. The odds heavily favor defense and equilibrium. This brings us to our final and, I think, most important section, the final truth. Because knowing all the mechanics of the battlefield is one thing, but surviving it, that requires a totally different mindset. These are the master principles. These 4 principles are really the final truth of Expiry Day. First, it's a day for restraint, not for heroic predictions. Second, remember that time is more powerful than any technical indicator in those final hours. Third, watch the premium expansion, the aggression, not just the price direction. And finally, you have to assume most breakout moves are designed to fail. The goal is just to survive, not to get rich in one afternoon. And if you remember absolutely nothing else from all of this, please remember this. You can't outsmart Expiry Day. You can't force your will on it. The market is going to resolve its risk where it needs to. Success doesn't come from being the smartest person in the room. It comes from being the most disciplined.
So now you've seen the playbook. It's not just random noise after all. It's a battlefield with rules, with signals, and a ticking clock that changes everything. The only question left is, now that you can see the structure behind the chaos, what are you going to be watching for next time that final bell approaches? Thanks for tuning in.